let's be real, WoW power scale has been out of whack for quite some time now. We went from regular soldiers and just unknown adventures, exploring Azeroth, killing boars and doing fetch quests, to now fighting a dead god that wants to undo the mechanism of the architects of the entire universe. While some people like this, most of the community has asked for everything to be scaled down significantly. Luckily, in the latest Blizzard interview just a few days ago, they did address this concern, and loosely, they gave us some hints for what they have planned in the future. So, are we actually going back to Azeroth after Shadowlands? First, I was a bit skeptical about this wallet, but Ridge, the sponsor of this video, sent it to me about a year and a half ago, and really, I've not used any other wallet since then. It is actually great. You can put 12 cards inside, and you can put cash here as well, and there are over 30 colors and styles you can choose from. Check out my link in the description to get a 10% discount with code DORON and get your own Ridge wallet. To say that World of Warcraft has changed drastically is a huge understatement. Back in Classic, we really were the unknown adventurer. You essentially had to come in and prove yourself to Troll and Bolvar, and you were generally given tasks a mercenary would get, similar to Rexxar in Warcraft 3, but even then they weren't really all that significant. You weren't there to negotiate a peace deal between the Alliance and the Horde, you weren't there to stop Sargeras directly, you were just a part of your faction doing missions. However, as time had moved, this slowly started shifting, and over time it really accelerated. We started getting our reputation higher, and expansion after expansion we faced bigger and more significant threats. First it was Illidan in Outland, then being right next to Tyrion in the fight against Arthas, then it was Deathwing, and over time we went to defeating a world soul on an alien planet, and now facing the ancient arbiter of death as he plans to undo the universe directly in the very afterlife. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all this is actually bad. I'm not saying we should just be random unknown soldiers doing fetch quests forever. That would 100% be boring. Us getting bigger and bigger tasks over time, over expansions, makes a ton of sense. Of course, in Classic we weren't battle proven, but we did prove our worth time and time again. However, the reality is that we really went way too far to the other extreme. Sure, we proved our worth a million times over and we deserve to be recognized by all the various leaders, but we don't really need to be the world-saving champions, the world soul-channeling Azerite champions right in the maw, the only person to ever walk and escape the maw in the entire cosmos, and we don't really need to uncover everything there is to uncover. I think many of you can agree with me here that this has been a problem for quite a few years, and while it kind of feels good in the moment, it really is not sustainable in the slightest. Sure, it is cool to be at the forefront of fighting the Legion, but when every expansion we are the saviors of everything, it just kinda loses its charm. It's like the genie's out of the bottle and there isn't really much you can do to close it and put him back in. Really, when you have seen it all, no regular mission is going to feel even slightly satisfying. Luckily, Blizzard has actually finally recognized this, and in a recent interview, Ion talked a bit about this, albeit vaguely. He did say that it is not all black and white. It isn't like we open the Pandora's box and there can be no return, but it sort of is like that, if that makes sense. The reality is that our characters are the champions of Azeroth. We can't just return back to anonymous mercenaries. It is just not possible at this point. However, the team realizes that the simple fantasy that WoW started as is really important, and they kind of want to return to that in a way, instead of just further escalating cosmological adventures, because let's be like this rate, 2 expansions from now, I wouldn't be surprised if we become the first ones themselves, or maybe we become the Titans. He actually did make a good and very interesting analogy mentioning the Burning Crusade, which I think is kinda an excellent mix of both. Really, in TBC, we were still the regular adventurers back from Classic, but there were big cosmological things in the background. Alien world, the Twisting Nether, spaceships, Naru, Burning Legion, Illidan, and just a whole bunch of other things. When you think about it, having these cosmological threats isn't really all that bad. However, the issue is when we are in the complete center of everything and, you know, we're channeling death rays into old gods and defeating world souls left and right. So how could something like this actually work? Unfortunately, in the interview, he kinda maneuvered around the question of whether there will be 9.3, which I kinda feel like confirms that either it won't happen or that it won't really be a significant patch, but he did confirm that 9.2 is happening quite soon, we will hear about it, and that apparently a lot more is planned after, but nothing can be said because it would spoil the story. What I think is that it could 100% be our return to Azeroth. I've talked about this many times now, I made multiple videos, but there is a possibility that we will be going back to Azeroth either in a 9.2 or after 9.2. Really, a lot of things are just hinting at this. The Jailer claiming that he plans to come for our world soul, the northern connection to the Shadowlands, the Scourge still being there, this entire Forbidden Realm, which is where Zoal is headed, the portal he went through known as Zereth Mortis, which is almost identical to the name of our planet, Azeroth, Zereth, Azeroth. So it is 100% possible that Azeroth could be happening in the very near future, maybe even in 9.2. If it is as we speculate that Azeroth is first one related or that Zereth Mortis is Azeroth, it makes a lot of sense why he can't even reveal the tiniest bit of information. Seriously, if they just told us that the next zone will be Northrend or somewhere on Azeroth, it would without a doubt spoil the connection between the first ones out of World Soul and the Shadowlands, so obviously they can't say much. More importantly, they mentioned that after 9.2 they have a lot of things planned, which is obviously a good sign. Realistically, this could 100% be related to their promise of scaling down the crazy cosmological stuff. Two things could happen if we return to Azeroth in or after 9.2. First is that, we return to the world obviously, which sets the stage for the next expansion. Second, this could be a key moment to finally tone down the universe-shattering battles. Maybe the Jailer does something with the World Soul, or the World Soul sacrifices itself to save the current order of the first ones, and then this entire battle just completely extinguishes. This way, we tone down the universe-shattering threat. The first ones never show up, and we still have a mystery of who they are, and then we can transition into other types of expansions that can really be plentiful at this point. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we should just get rid of all the cosmology, just wipe everything out and return to fighting ogres and dragons. Having big villains in the background is actually a great thing, it really adds to everything. Just don't completely unmask them. The reason the old gods were the coolest villains were because we barely knew anything about them. All we knew were through eerie whispers, cultists and their own little sinister missions. The reason Sargeras was cool was because his Burning Legion was undefeatable, this crazy demonic army. The reason the Titans were so cool was because they were mysterious creators of the universe, and all that was left of them were remnants across Azeroth that we had to find, dig out, and just piece together information from all these little scattered bits of information. However, when we, Death Ray and Old God, imprison Sargeras and reveal the Titans as losers just impersonating first ones, it kinda makes everyone lose quite a bit of their charm. Unfortunately, these storylines are kind of at a point of no return. However, we still have the Void Lords, we don't really know much about the leadership of the Light, and we barely know anything about the first ones. If Blizzard doesn't go crazy and just reveals everything to know about them, a lot of cool expansions can be made. Expansions with big cosmological threats in the background that could be behind other earthly things we are currently fighting. Thank you for watching. Check out Are These the Next Classes by clicking on the screen, and also check out Notes Academy for real world history. See you next time.